outside of the school district, think about the independent schools. Compton has a lot of private schools too. They're not connected to the school districts regularly, but they bring a lot of assets. I'd also like to look at, the Timbuktu Resource Center, because I think we're positioned well, and we have a lot of contacts and a lot of knowledge. So I think that'd be a good partnership because we're grassroots in this area.
So who would be some people with the resource-rich partner for Timbuktu and the smaller non-affiliated school districts?
Well, we're partnering now with Gilbert Bay. This Saturday we're going to do some cleanup. I'm going to bring some of my volunteers from Timbuktu. We're going to go to a couple of the sites that Gilbert Bay is putting together. So that's a good thing. We're working with the school district. So that's what you're talking about. That's a grassroots group, Gilbert Bay and the school district coming together on a cleanup day.
Yeah, it sounds good, except for one thing that I think that, and I'm not trying to beat up on you, I was just saying that, and I'm the one with the microphone, so it's totally lopsided, I know that. But I think that Heal the Bay they seem resource rich because they have these immense fundraisers and are, successful nonprofit organization, but I think that the real power is to pull in even more money from someone else or to make the big, go ahead, Richard.
Well, Cal State Dominguez, that's one of my primary partners. So Cal State Dominguez brings the whole, money, technical, the whole gamut of students. That's been my primary partner.
I think that's kind of a bingo because when the state agencies get a little more funding, that could possibly be a real boom. And I know that Reginald's doing work with the president. You're mentioning the Compton Creek to the president of Cal State Dominguez. For a while, the only person talking about it was John and his colleague, Connie Bedheim Roth. So now, I think, that's a great idea. Go ahead.
We have average around about 150 students, and we had our charter schools, but there was always a group that would always have to go on detention, or I was always trying to find ways or something I could do to turn them or give them something else to do rather than write essays or repeat something. So something like this, you present something like, you have students who are having challenges in school, but you want to do something constructive where they can learn something. Let them come out and do some detention in the field. Let them come out and help us. Let them come out and do something.
Yeah. And I'll even help. I'll come and talk to them before they go in the
that's what I'm saying. We could have
I was also going to add, there's a large business community in Compton, especially large industrial businesses and things. And with the push towards, corporate citizenship and such, maybe having a large business sponsor a cleanup day. They have their employee base, that type of thing.
Like Prison Realty.
I would add to that, Compton, one of the biggest economies in the South Bay region because of all these people down at Walnut.
Belgian.
Big money. But Pastor, I want you to finish your thought a little bit more. You were talking about detention.
The thought is the detention could be something that could be very proactive, that could really touch the lives of some of our children that we don't know where they would take it. I mean, they could take it and say, this is something I want to do for life. I mean, they become working at a lake or something because now they feel that there's something else they've learned, so we don't know where it can take them, but really touch them in a different way. The teachers are seeing it as detention. We're seeing it as an opportunity to expose what we're doing.
Maisha and then Meredith, and then I'm going to ask my final question, and Sabrina's going to come up with me after that. But Maisha and then Meredith.
I think that population could really be utilized, but I think you have to be really careful at how you approach it, because if you use it as a punishment, then it's going to be something that they don't like to do because they associate it with being a punishment. I find that with youth, it's a lot better to offer an apple than to get behind them with a stick and kind of try to send them along. So if you want them to have an appreciation of the creek, and you're only giving it to the detention student, maybe you might switch it around and say, if you earn a certain amount of points, we'll allow you to go and work on the creek. And that might be more effective for them to want to do it on a continuum, and as opposed to, well, I'm off detention now, I'm never going to do that again.
Alex, one of our greatest partners here has also always been the Conservation Corps, a resource-rich group. The Conservation Corps, and you kept dangling the idea of a Compton Conservation Corps in front of me. Were you teasing?
When was I dangling that idea?
Like last week.
The only one that I've got the idea of is like the idea to get the Sheriff's Explorers partnering with the Conservation Corps. They both take two different tracks of kids. You know, some kids want to be a police officer, and maybe they go into Sheriff's Explorers, and some kids are either, you know, they don't know what they want to do, and they are running, or they are running from the police actively, and they might go into the LA Conservation Corps for like a kind of a more skills training thing. I was thinking about getting people. Is that what you're talking about?
I thought that there's the Long Beach Conservation Corps and the LA Conservation Corps, and I thought it was you that was telling me that Compton was actually trying to figure out how to make a conservation corps that was of Compton for Compton. Well, this would be a genius idea. Now we have, you know, a built-in crew for maintenance for these pocket parks, and you know, you're recycling dollars in the community. That if Conservation Corps is usually state funded, and the LA Conservation Corps helped build the bike path and planted all the trees in the bike path. So wouldn't it be great if those were all kids from Compton that were getting paid to actually do all the work in the creek?
Okay.
And
I'm going to interrupt. I just wanted to qualify that with two things, and then we're going to ask our last question, and Sabrina will come up. But one thing is that I know that there's these multi-billion-dollar bonds, and all the conservation corps get a big chunk of those bonds. And I think that they are, there might be some resistance to starting a new conservation corps right away. But I think one thing that we can do, since LA Conservation Corps considers Compton in its area, is bring them in and let them do a Compton Center. I think also Long Beach has a Compton Center, but it's not super active. And so I think the idea would be like a locally based influence. The problem is that you got some kids in Compton working for the Conservation Corps up in MacArthur Park, and you got some kids from MacArthur Park working for the Conservation Corps down in Compton, and I think they need a little outside pressure from the city of Compton to keep it local, because it's more administrative hassle for them. They just want to take a bunch of kids, they've got the pit of children, and they pull them out, and they pay them the minimum wage and train them the skills, and they don't want to sort them out by where they're from. But I think that with a little bit of pressure from the city, that there could be a great local conservation corps.